Welcome to Crowned and Candid, Real Sips, Real Stories. I'm your host, Alicia Braswell, a life and well-being coach and owner of Empowered Within. This is the podcast with real people, real stories, and real conversations about the journey, the breakthroughs, and everything in between. And fellas, this is for you too, because breakthroughs have no gender. Let's get ready to pour into you. In this episode of Crowned and Candid, I sit down with one of my dearest friends, Malika Williams, to talk about her newly released book, Selfish Grief. Her book is beautifully written, raw yet tender, and bold, and you'll hear her journey of love, loss, and why it was important to share her story now. We'll talk about the grief of a loved one, a job, or a friendship. What if your grief isn't something to get over, but something sacred to walk through? Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Crowned and Candid. I'm so excited to be here today with my dear friend, Malika. So want to introduce her. She is someone who is very special, near and dear to me. She walks into a room with poise and grace and purpose. I kind of just want to make you sit up a little taller. She is the author of 2 books. She has a children's book, which I'll have her tell you about. And the book that we're here to talk about today, Selfish Grief. And this is going to be a good one. She's also the owner and founder of Excuse Me Please, Etiquette, where she teaches adults the art of etiquette with grace and intention. She's brilliant. She's real. And again, my dearest friend. And when it comes to the etiquette stuff, I will tell you, she's taught me a few things. I thought I knew what I was doing, but clearly not. And now when we go out to dinner, I am like holding my breath because I'm thinking she's looking at me. She's looking.
Nah, not even.
So Malika, thank you and welcome.
Sure.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
You've done a great job doing that. Thank you for having me on. Just in a nutshell, in regards to this book and this segment, this is my story. I suddenly lost my husband after a short term of marriage. And so grief is something that everybody has to go through. And so through my journey, through my process, I recorded it attentively. And just decided to put out a tool, to help others to heal. You can heal, but you have to do the work. And I think a lot of times people think that grief, you just have to kind of live with it. And it's just almost like, a backpack that you carry for a long time, but that doesn't have to be the case. You deserve a life that's much larger than your grief. So I decided to share my journey and how I did it, and not saying that my way is the only way. I don't know it all, but I know my story.
Right.
And so I wanted to share that and just give people some tools. Just like you have tools to build a home, you have to have tools to get through grief and any other mental, emotional, spiritual thing that you may be going through. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, but before we get into this, your skin, hunty, it's flawless.
Is it?
What's
Okay.
the secret?
The secret is drink a lot of water.
A lot of water.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of water.
So we need to drink water because her skin is flawless, as you can see.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's get into why we're here, and we're going to talk about selfish grief. This book is written beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
It's raw yet tender, beautiful yet bold. It's almost, when I was reading it, it was a quiet act of rebellion written from a place of love. And so I want to ask you 2 things right out of the gate.
Sure.
What do you want the reader to walk away with? And why was it important for you to share this with the world right now?
So I want the reader to walk away with knowing that feeling a sense of empowerment that they too can heal. A lot of times you
Mhm,
just need to be around someone or made aware of someone who has done it.
mhm,
And so I that was my biggest thing. I want them to walk away knowing that they can heal. Now, here's the deal. You have to choose happiness. You have
mhm,
to choose to heal. So some people may read my book and never even change, and that's
mhm,
okay. I just simply wanted so that if there comes a day that they're wanting to change, that tool will be there at their fingertips.
mhm,
So that's the main thing I want the reader, to walk away with.
mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Why was this the time for you to write it?
I think, well, for me, I can only speak
Mhm,
from my journey, but you go through a time in your healing journey, and as you kind of get a little bit stronger, you never get over it. So when people
mhm,
ask me, will I grieve for the rest of my life? You absolutely will.
mhm,
Okay. But you don't have to look at it as a death sentence. You look at it
mhm,
as a love letter that you keep writing
mhm.
about that loved one that you lost. And
Yeah.
so the time for me, I could tell that I was healing because although, there's still heavy days and sad days, they didn't shatter me as they once did.
Mhm.
And so, to be honest, I think anybody who has lost somebody, the biggest thing they want is to make sure that their loved one is not forgotten.
Mm.
And I also wanted everyone to know Danny's character because
Mhm,
he was remarkable. And
mhm,
so this book, this tool, he is always out there in the world now, and everybody knows him. Everybody knows my story. I also wrote it because I was getting approached a lot about doing public speaking and
mhm.
sharing my story. And so I thought, how can I touch people that I may never meet?
Right,
And so the only way to do that was to put it in book form
right,
and to also create that tool. So it's kind of killing two birds with one stone.
right. Thank you so much. That's
Yes.
beautiful. When I think of my own losses and my grief, um, you've had relationships that you've lost,
Yes. Yes.
like boyfriends,
Hmm.
and those are okay. But just jobs and
Hmm.
friendships that I've had. And for me, the most profound was my dad.
Hmm.
I lost him when I was 10,
Yes.
and he was my safe space
Hmm.
before I even knew what a safe space
Right.
was.
Right. Right.
Um, and it happened when I was 10.
Okay.
Mm, some people may feel like, oh, well, that was over 40 years
Hmm.
ago. You should be over it. Why are you even still thinking about it? But it's just a piece of me
Hmm.
that I will carry because he was such a safe space.
Absolutely.
And I have, started doing the work,
Good.
talking about it more,
Okay.
and realizing that it's okay
Hmm.
to continue to grieve
Absolutely.
the love
Hmm.
that, again, it was your safe space.
Absolutely.
That's really what I knew.
Yes.
And so for you, those of you out there who are feeling the same, there's no
No.
time.
No.
There's no time.
No. Grief does
Um,
not have an expiration date. It
no,
doesn't.
it
So.
doesn't. It's
Hmm.
the remembering.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what does the title selfish grief mean?
Well, to be honest, after Danny passed, I moved back to the Tennessee area because he transitioned in Texas,
Hmm.
and life went on. After the services, everybody kind of goes back to normal. The calls decrease, the casseroles no longer come,
Hmm.
the flowers have now ceased, and so I used to try to in the early age. First year, I didn't do a whole lot. I was heavily medicated and could only
Hmm.
just sleep to function. But year two, I kind of tried to keep up with the flow and get back in the swing of things. But I noticed that I wasn't well. I
Hmm.
wasn't mentally well. I wasn't emotionally well by any means because I was still in some state of shock.
Hmm.
And so it wasn't until I decided just to slam on my brakes, let everybody else go past me,
Hmm.
that I really began to heal. And so I had to
Hmm.
become selfish in that healing.
Hmm.
I had to show up the way I needed to show up to heal.
Hmm.
And so that disappointed some people because I wouldn't show up to all the events, or I wouldn't take some of the phone calls, or I wouldn't, take the extensions to go on trips and so forth because I needed time for Malika.
Hmm.
And so that's what the selfish grief kind of came from. It wasn't until I really began to be selfish that I really began to see some healing. Now, it wasn't quick. It was kind of like a dark cloud that would slowly dissipate
Mm.
away. But again, in that selfishness is where that came.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I And just hearing you talk about that, what comes up for me is we are always, oh, you're the strong one,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So when it comes to grief, oh, she's the strong one.
Mhm.
She'll get through it. Um, but that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Sometimes we have to be strong for ourselves and
Right.
not for everyone else.
Exactly.
And, when I talk about crowned and candid,
Mhm.
it's about people realizing the strength that they never had.
Right.
Like the crown isn't gone.
No, right.
The
Right.
crown might be tilted just based on
Mhm.
things you're going through.
Right.
But once
Right.
you find the strength
Yes.
that you forgot you had, it comes
Mhm.
right back.
It certainly does.
It
It
comes right
certainly
back.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes back because it's a God-given gift.
Hmm.
The Bible says that our gifts make room for us.
Oh.
So he doesn't take anything from us.
Hmm.
It's suffering. Everybody has to suffer. Jesus suffered.
Hmm.
And a lot of times we want life to be easy, but
Right.
he didn't send us here to be comfortable. He
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
And so whether it's grief, whether it's loss of a job, whether it's loss of a pet or friendships or what have you, we all have to go through some stuff. There's a shaking that has to happen for us to
Mm.
really live our life to the fullness.
Yeah.
We don't know what your shaking may be, but we
Mm-mm.
all have to go through it. And
Yeah.
so if you equip yourself, remember who you are, remember the strength that lies within, tap into your spiritual, being, whatever your belief is,
Mhm.
and just, move forward. He will restore you.
Oh, yeah.
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 Doing the work too.
Absolutely. And it's
Doing the
not
work.
easy.
Not
Yes.
easy. Not easy.
Yeah.
So before we talk about really get into the book,
Okay.
I want to start with the love.
Okay.
Okay. Um, because when I was reading the book, it was a love story.
Yes.
It was such a love story. It was beautiful between you
Thank you.
and your husband, the way you write about him, the way you loved each
Yes.
other. Um, 14 years of marriage, the greatest love of
14
your
months.
14 months.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Not years. I wish. I wish it was 14 years.
Yes. 14 months. And
Yeah.
then life happened.
Mhm.
We'll put
Mhm.
it that way.
Yes.
Life
Yes.
happened.
Yes.
So could you take us back through that love story, as much as you're comfortable
Yeah.
sharing?
Sure.
Um, you know, what did tell us about the love story and then, once things changed,
Mhm.
like what did that feel like?
So the love stories, we both went to college at the same college. We were, kind of in a lot of the same classes, both communication majors. I was a cheerleader. He was a star basketball player. So we were always kind of around each other. And Danny was
Mhm.
always just kind of clowning and playing around all the time. And so, but that was just who Danny was. So I
Mhm.
never equated it to anything more than that.
Mhm.
We would have some good conversations. I remember some weekends he had a car at college. I did not. And he
Mhm.
was from Memphis. So some weekends he would offer me a ride to Memphis if I was going down to see my family, and
Mhm.
we would actually talk about like a girl he was dating or somebody
Mhm.
he liked. So I never really, thought anything about it. And so that went on. He admired me for about 25 years, and unbeknownst to me. And I would
Mhm.
see him homecomings, and we may dance at the little local dance, but
Mhm.
he never said anything or anything. And
Uh-huh.
so, and because we had so many circles that we, worked around in, it wasn't like foreign or uncommon for me to interact with him. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like, oh, finally spoke to me today. No, we would speak
Just
all the
kinda like,
time. Yeah.
yeah.
So I just didn't think anything about it. But after graduating, some years later, he texted one day and asked, could he wanted to talk to me about something, and I'm assuming it was homecoming because every time I see him
Mhm.
homecoming, we would talk about getting together and having
Mhm.
like a party for our class rather than just a big, group like they would normally do. And so then, he called. I said, "You can call me this evening, whatever." And so when he called, he, immediately said, "I've been admiring you for 25
Mm.
years and wanted to know if I could court you."
Ooh.
And I was
That
just
word we don't hear too much
exactly,
these days.
exactly. And so I was just kind of silent, and I was like, "Who, me?"
Mhm.
Because I was just kind of shocked, and told him to give me a week or two to pray about it because I had dated some knuckleheads and was just kind of at the point where like I'm good. I'm
Mhm.
career driven
Mhm.
and just wasn't interested in playing the games, and so really just prayed about it. And
Mhm.
God didn't answer immediately. It wasn't until maybe like the day to the hour that he was supposed to circle back that he
Mhm.
said, give it a try. And so we did. And so, from that point, immediately, I mean, he was elated. I was elated, but still kind of like, huh? Because I just never ever, even thought about it like that. And he literally courted me. He wrote my father a letter. He wrote my mother a letter that I didn't know about until, after we had married. And I just recently found out from my bishop and my first lady out in New Jersey that he had written them a 2-page letter, professing his
Mm.
love for me, and how much I had shared about them and how they were an integral part of my life and all the things. And so when I say I was genuinely loved well from the courtship even into the marriage.
Mm.
And so, again, although brokenhearted that it was short lived, but when I say I am so grateful to have experienced that type of love,
Mhm.
a lot of women don't get to experience that, men and women really,
Yeah.
to be loved that well. And so, again, unfortunate that it happened, but I am just truly honored that God allowed me to experience that on this side of heaven. A lot of people don't get to do
Mhm.
that. So,
That's beautiful. We talk about a loss
yes.
and yes, it's tough, but to be able to experience, you're right. There are men and women who don't get to
Mm-mm,
experience that.
mm-mm.
And it's something that you take with you and
Yes,
you have the standard.
exactly.
You have the
Exactly.
standard.
Yes.
So the fellas,
Standard
uh,
is the standard.
did you hear? Did you hear this
Yes.
courtship?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ladies,
Yes.
did you hear about the courtship? Because, yeah, I think we've gotten away from
Too
that
far
these
away.
days.
Too far
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
away.
So, in the book, you do talk about you go through the emotions and the trauma
Yes.
of the funeral
Mhm.
and all of that. And you mentioned earlier, once the casseroles are
Yes.
gone and all of that is gone. When I was reading that, I was like, yeah, now what?
Yes.
Who was your tribe? Like, who were the people and did people leave?
Yeah. So early on, my tribe was my mom and my sister.
Mm,
And that was because that's all I would let in.
mhm,
They were my safe space. So early on, I would say it was my mom and my sister. I literally followed my mom around like I was probably maybe 5, 6 years old. That's the way,
mm,
it would look.
mhm,
I didn't lift my head up.
mm,
We would just go to the grocery store, go to the store. So yeah, they were my tribe originally. And then as time went on and I started, extensive counseling,
mhm,
I met other widows in my age bracket who had
mm,
experienced very similar things.
mhm.
And so I have a little group now. We call ourselves the Winning Widows. And
Oh,
so they were and still are a tremendous support for me
mhm,
and each other. We travel a lot. Our husbands all loved music. And so we
mm,
purposely go to concerts and outdoor jazz things and travel just to honor our husbands. And so that's
mhm.
been great. And then really the main support was just God.
Yeah.
There were several times that I would just like I even talk about in the book, I kind of envisioned it as, the statue of Abe Lincoln.
Mm,
And I would crawl up, if you can envision yourself crawling up
mhm.
on that big monument, that I would look at that as the lap of the Lord.
Yeah,
And so I would do a lot of that, just quiet time because the emotions are all over the place. And so you can't often put them into words.
right.
And so it's those when you have the moans
Mm,
and when you groan and when you just, you're just
mhm,
silent. And so that was kind of my main circle in the beginning. And yes, several people did fall off. People
mhm,
who I thought we had been friends since kindergarten,
mhm,
or what have you. Some of the main people I thought would be there, and even some
mhm.
family
Yeah,
were not there.
yeah,
And so that's another thing you have to funeralize. So
exactly.
in grief, there's different stages, and they talk about the stages. I don't really believe in the 5 stages because that's written from a totally different view.
Mhm,
But I do believe that there's things that you constantly have to funeralize while
mhm,
you heal. You have to funeralize that I'll never hold Danny's hand again.
mhm,
We'll never have a phone conversation. All those
mhm.
things you have to go through that. And so that's part of it.
Yeah. It's like peeling the layers back,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Like I was saying, there's one aspect,
Hmm.
okay, here's another one, and then
Exactly.
it just keeps coming,
Yep.
which is why it's okay to be selfish.
That's right.
It's
That
okay.
is absolutely
Um,
right.
something, that I was reading, vulnerability is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Mhm.
A life without it isn't life. It's performance, it's
Yeah.
pretending.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Um, we we talk about, we talked about being the strong one. Um, what did it feel like in terms of you being strong for yourself? Is there a point where you could? Was you talked about your mom and
Mhm.
your sister were your strength? Um, what what else did you pull on to find that strength?
Again, we're gonna go right back to God.
Mhm.
My prayer often was, God, I need you to give me the strength to get through this.
Mhm.
You said you wouldn't put more on us than we could bear,
Yeah.
things of that nature. So it was really God. And to be honest with you, the first 3, 4 years I wasn't strong. And
Mhm.
I'm proud enough to say that
Mhm.
because when we're not, He is. His word says that.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't. I didn't try to be. I told you I followed my mom around as if I was 5 or 6 years old. So I
Mm.
didn't try to be strong
Right.
because you can't be strong when you're shattered.
Mm.
And so until you start picking up those pieces, putting them back together, that's where the strength comes from.
Mm.
And so again, like you said, being vulnerable. So my vulnerability was I'm not strong. I'm
Yeah.
not mentally strong. I'm not emotionally strong. I wasn't even spiritually strong.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my strength came from
Mm.
God and just being honest and
Yeah.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the strength of having your mom and sister. And I know you have some dear, dear
Oh,
friends
absolutely. Absolutely.
who were there to help you. Um, I have to be honest with you all. As her friend, Malika has showed me personally tremendous strength. Even when I didn't know I needed
Yeah.
a prayer partner or someone that I could release to. Um, I can call her. She'll pop up. I'm like thinking about her. She pops up, or she'll call me and say, "You were my mind." And every time you do that, it's at that point
Oh, praise God.
where
That's what it's about.
I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed some strength that I wasn't willing to
All
ask
right. I
for.
love that.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. That's
So,
awesome.
so there is a journal entry in this book, if
Mhm.
you don't mind reading it. Um, it was from the person who wrote the foreword, and it started with redefine what it means to be strong. It takes strength to tell people you're hurting.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, would you
Was
mind?
that from Pamela?
Yes,
Does it say what page it's on?
Pamela Booker. No, I don't have the
Okay.
page.
Okay. I didn't number the book. My publisher numbered it, so I
Uh-huh.
don't have it committed to memory, but I will see if I can find it quickly. But I can, if I can't find it quickly, I can definitely tell you where that came from.
Mhm.
So I had reached out to her. I think one somehow we got in contact. She would call
Mhm.
often. She again is part of my, tribe.
Mhm.
And I remember her. It was a day that I was having a heart heavy day,
Mhm.
and I said, I just, I'm just not strong. I just feel really weak. And so,
Mhm.
she just explained to me that, whenever you say you are weak or whenever you say you need help, that's strength. She was
Mhm.
saying society has it backwards.
Mm.
Society thinks that if you just stay quiet and just kind of mull through it, that's strength.
Mhm.
And so she was like, so anytime, Malika, you are weak or need strength, say that, get the
Mhm.
help. And she was proud that I was going through therapy and all the things. So that's where it came from. But Pamela Booker is a dear friend of mine who is, oh my gosh, profound in knowledge. I mean, every
Mhm.
time we talk, she makes you go harder, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, after your goals. And so she was a tremendous help, but I'll never forget that. And so anytime now, even when I feel like I'm weak, I remember, hearing Pamela's voice saying,
Mm.
no, you're really strong because most people wouldn't even admit that they're weak.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah.
That's what I coach women through.
Hmm.
It's acknowledging
Yeah.
first. So
Yeah.
this is part of the work. You have to
Mhm.
acknowledge.
Exactly.
We're everything for everyone except ourselves.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you have to be vulnerable and
Mhm.
acknowledging that and, finding more than a motivational quote,
Yes. Yes.
right? You need more than a
Mhm.
motivational quote. Support,
Mhm.
prayer,
Exactly.
scripture.
Mhm.
That's the best motivational
That's
quote.
right.
Uh,
That's right. You're
that's
right.
the best one.
You're right.
Um, I liked when you talked about God nuggets,
Mhm.
the clues along the path that reminded you that you weren't lost. You were
Mhm.
simply shedding.
Mhm.
Um, what Tell me about some of those nuggets. Did you have other nuggets that came to you?
Yeah, God has always shown himself. And sometimes on some of those days, I would say, God, 'cause I don't like to say a sign because that kind of puts me into a
Mm-hmm.
witchcraft realm. And that's just not a space that I even operate
Mm-hmm.
in. But, God, I need to know, or I just give me your presence. And so there were times when, there would be, when I first moved back home, there was this red cardinal. I lived with my mom for the
Mm.
first year.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this red cardinal that would come back to her backyard every
Mm.
time I was out there, and he would just sit on the fence like forever and sing extremely loud to the point
Mm.
where, a few times I thought, "Oh my gosh, go,
Right.
away." And then as I started going through therapy and kind of studying, some cardinals and kind of what their representation was, because I kept seeing it. He
Mm-hmm.
would come all of the time. He wouldn't go out when my mom was out, only when I would show up. And so,
Mm.
so that's a sign. I had to have some foot surgery, and when I had to go back to New York to have
Mm-hmm.
some foot surgery done by the only doctor I'll let touch my feet, Dr. Abramo. If you need a foot surgeon, phenomenal. And he came into the operating room dressed in Green Bay Packer gear, and that was Danny's
Oh.
favorite team. I mean, we had a green and yellow room in the house. It was his
Oh.
favorite team, and so I just smiled and I said, "God, I see you." So it's just little things like that, and I think if
Mm-hmm.
we hurry through life so much that we miss the nuggets. And so if you
Mm-hmm.
really tap in, you're gonna know he's right there with you, or he'll have someone call or say
Mm-hmm.
something or mail you something that's been heavy on your heart. So
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times we just rush through it and we don't allow life. Life will speak so loud to you if you slow down.
Oh, yes.
If you slow down and get quiet,
Yes.
it will speak so loud, and it'll also save you from so much heartache that you don't have to take.
100%
So,
agree with that.
yeah.
Um, I lost my job last summer
Yes.
and I was afforded the opportunity to have time to
Mhm.
be still.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was the first time I was ever able to just really be still
Mhm.
and listen
Yeah. Yeah.
without the pressures of I have to go back to work
Mhm.
tomorrow. Oh my gosh. And most people don't have that opportunity,
Right.
but I had that opportunity to do that. And yes, for me, there were things there when I would ask, what is it I want to do?
Mhm.
And coaching kept coming up and I kept saying, nah,
Yeah.
nah, not really. But for me, it was something I felt in my body.
Okay. Mhm.
Like every time I would say coaching, I just felt my
Yeah.
core light up and my heart got so full. And
Yes.
sometimes I would cry.
Okay.
So I felt that in
Yes.
my body.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes they're there and it's stillness. And even if, you know, you can't, like I said, take the time
Mhm.
off from whatever you're doing to
Right.
sit in that stillness in that way, there are other
Oh,
ways you can sit
absolutely.
in stillness.
Absolutely. You'd be surprised. Most of my stillness, I do get up very early every morning to go into my prayer room that I built in my home. But even in the car, I don't often have the radio on. It's
Mhm.
just quiet, and I'm just kind of letting him lead and guide,
Mhm.
the whole way. So there's plenty of ways you can do that without even having, when you're sitting in a doctor's office waiting for your turn, don't get on your phone and start scrolling. Just be quiet.
Be quiet.
So it's much easier than we think, but unfortunately, society pushes go, go, go,
Mhm.
and to me, it's a setup.
Mhm.
It's a setup for society to fail.
Oh,
And so I'm totally bucking the system in that area.
yes.
So
Yes, yes. Um, selfish is not neglect.
no.
It is self-preservation.
Hmm.
It is soul care.
Yes.
And selfish is choosing to live when grief tries to bury you alive.
Yes.
Go be
That's it.
selfish.
That's it. Go be selfish.
Oh, I love it.
That's
And
it.
your
That's
book
it.
has had tremendous response.
Ah, yes, I'm still humble, still shocked. Like I said, I thought I would sell just a few little copies, but I'm so grateful. But I'm not really focusing on numbers. I
Mhm.
had a long conversation with my publisher the other day, and she helped me to kind of hone in on some things because I was looking at the numbers at first, just because it's kind of
Mhm.
just natural human nature.
A little bit of
Um,
validation.
yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, I am honored that, it's only been out since January, and I've close to 500
Oh, that's
copies sold.
beautiful.
But my publisher brought up, let's not look at numbers, let's look at impact.
Mm,
And so she says, if you look at the Amazon reviews that you have on your book, if you look at the personal reviews on your own website, that's what's important.
mhm.
And she's absolutely right,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, remember my prayer was, how can I reach,
Mhm.
and help people heal that I may never meet?
Yeah.
And so that's just confirmation that, all the hard work, the late nights, the crying,
Yeah.
the just having to peel back the layers of the pain, that it was all worth it.
Yeah.
So,
It's like you had to bring that up
oh,
again in
absolutely.
order to write it, and, yeah, that was beautiful. I love that. I love that,
Thanks.
and it
Yeah.
has impacted people because it's impacted me.
Ah, thank you. Well,
It's
then it's
really
doing its
impacted
job.
me.
It's
Well,
doing its
yes.
job.
Yes. So, y'all need to get the book. Another thing, I know that you do speaking
Mhm,
engagements, and you are very involved with Winning Widows.
mhm.
I said that
Yes,
right.
you did. You did.
Has anyone said anything to you in one of those moments that you'll carry forever?
You talking about in one of my speaking moments?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only thing that really comes to mind is my mentor. She often reminds me, this is bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that kind of keeps me going because
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like there's somebody out there I have to reach that maybe I haven't reached yet.
Right.
And so that makes it bigger than me, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
just one person. And then I've had other people who have come after I've spoken. And the one girl I recently spoke here in Tennessee, and she ran up to me crying, and I thought, oh, I'm thinking something else because then another speaker was up by that time. So I'm
Right.
thinking something has happened, maybe an emergency, issue or something. And she just said, I want you to know that I've been carrying grief for, I think she
Mm-hmm.
said 20 plus years, and hearing you speak about it and seeing, how vibrant you look after that such traumatic loss, that you've given me hope to start my journey. And so that was just March 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the two things. That it's bigger than me, and then for someone to say they've been carrying that backpack for that long, and they're finally going to kind of put it down and begin to unpack it.
Okay.
That's huge. That's huge. Because I kept telling her, I said, I guarantee you that the grief that you're carrying is keeping you from the very life that you desire. And she
Mhm.
said, you're absolutely right.
Keeping
So,
her from straightening her crown.
hmm
That's impact.
yeah, yeah, exactly. 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 So,
Well, so what is next for Malika
oh
Williams?
my goodness, I have so much going on trying to juggle it all, but God is in control. But I have some speaking engagements coming up. Really booked until December, to be honest. There's some
Mm,
gaps that are open. So I'm doing that. I'm going to be having another book signing and meet and greet the author in July, I
okay.
believe, waiting for my publicist to get all that finalized. And so I will let you know on my websites and social medias, all of my
Hmm.
schedule. I have quite a few speaking engagements at, grief share events here in town and different
Right.
churches and organizations. So that's going well.
Hmm.
Excited about that. And the more that I can push, I keep saying I'm out here just pushing Jesus and healing. So the more I
Hmm.
can push that, that's what it's all about. But quite a few things, pretty much booked all the way until December. I have some dates in California, some in Texas, some in
Wow.
Kentucky. So he's opening doors, and I'm just humbled and just, walking through
Yes.
them. Sometimes your knees are shaking, because you don't feel as though you're equipped, but I have to remind myself that life has equipped me,
Hmm.
and that, I just kind of let him use me. And when you're doing soul work,
Hmm.
you don't have to worry about credentials. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am doing some certifications,
Right.
currently enrolled now in two. And so yeah, I am doing those types of things. But when you're doing soul work, people don't care about your papers.
No.
They care about, you connecting and vibing with them and understanding the
Hmm.
very emotions, the raw emotions that they are feeling. So
Hmm.
I am, keeping busy, and
Clearly. Clearly.
just trying to steal a
You're
little.
not sitting around.
No, not at all. Trying to steal a few days to rest in between, but
Rest is important.
yes. So, but yeah, so that's what I have going on. And like I said, all my social media sites, actually starting Monday, my publicist is going to start putting all my events out there and so forth. So
Mhm.
we're excited about
Well,
that.
Speaking of that,
Mhm.
where can the people who just fell in love with you find you?
Well, you can find me on my website, which is selfishgrief.com. You can order the book from there, or you can order it from Amazon. And then you can also or email me at info@selfishgrief.com. But from my social media sites, I use my name, my first and middle name, because that's my pen name that I usually write under. So it's I am Lady Malika Saban, and that is on Instagram and TikTok. So I am Lady Malika Saban, Instagram and TikTok. Facebook is just my whole name, Malika Williams. Just keep it simple. And so, yeah, but every place else, if you want to directly to the book, just go to selfishgrief.com.
Awesome. And all of our information will be linked in the caption.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this, it will be linked as well. Okay. So, last question.
Okay.
This is what I ask all the guests.
Okay.
Because, it's real sips, real talk, right?
Okay.
So, if you could pour one thing into the cup of everyone listening today that keeps your cup filled, what would it be?
If I could pour one thing, let me see. I would just say love yourself.
Oh,
Yeah, love yourself. Because when you love yourself, God magnetizes everything else to you that you're
mm-hmm.
supposed to have. So you're
Right.
not having to compete. You're not even being bogged down with worry
Mm-hmm.
or concern. So when you really just love yourself, I mean, every wrinkle, every bump, every whatever it may be, just really love yourself, even the things you don't like about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
if you're sometimes impatient or, what have you,
Mm-hmm.
love all of that. And then and then God will clearly, he'll just magnify everything
Mm-hmm.
that you need and even those things that you desire. He
Right.
will. I think we are so, especially women, we're so intent on loving others
Yes.
and putting others first that we deny ourselves.
A
And
100%.
so I really think that's the message for everybody, even in society. Just love yourself and everything else will come. Even the Bible says that,
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Love yourself.
Love yourself.
Hmm.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Look at that crown up there, all beautiful. I'm going to start getting crowns for my guests.
It's so crazy.
Malika, it has been a joy sitting
Likewise,
here and
likewise.
having this conversation with
Yes,
you.
yes.
I wish you nothing but blessings,
Thank you.
success,
Thank you.
and that you receive the love that I so genuinely receive and everyone else out here does as
Thank
well.
you. I
So
appreciate that. I
thank you.
appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your platform.